So I've got a confession to make. For the longest time, my relationship with time was, well, it was a real mess. I was constantly trying to manage it, to squeeze more hours out of the day. And almost always, I just ended up feeling behind. It's totally exhausting. So in my search for a better way, I went back to a book by Stephen Covey called First Things First. And man, the big idea in there didn't just help me manage my time better, it completely changed how I think about productivity itself.
And this is it. This is the idea that just flips the whole script. See, the goal isn't just about getting better at organizing your schedule. The real goal is to fundamentally change your relationship with time. It's about the difference between being a manager and being a leader.
So what does that actually mean to lead your time instead of just managing it? I know, that sounds a little out there, right? But there's a simple story that makes this difference totally crystal clear.
Okay, picture this. You've got a group of people hacking their way through a super dense forest. The leader, they're way out front, maybe climbing the tallest tree to get a good look at the whole landscape. Their job isn't to worry about who's walking too slow. Their job is to figure out where the group is going. What's the destination? The manager, though, they're right there in the thick of it with everyone else, sharpening the machetes, setting the pace, making sure everyone is following the path as efficiently as possible.
The leader gives the vision. The manager handles the execution. And you absolutely need both. But think about it. Without a leader, you could be the most efficient path clearer in the world, but you might be in the completely wrong forest. And that perfectly captures the difference between just managing your day-to-day tasks and truly leading your life. And to really understand why this is so critical, there's a story that gets right to the heart of it all. So let's dig into a story that really gets to the heart of what truly matters. So Stephen Covey tells this incredibly powerful story that just puts everything we think is urgent into perspective. He went to visit a former student of his in the hospital. She was only 23 years old, and she had just found out that her cancer was terminal. As Covey sat there with her, just struggling to find anything meaningful to say, she was the one who spoke up. She said, "How I long to go home and change my children's diapers." Just let that sink in for a second. In what she knew were her final days, her deepest wish wasn't for some grand adventure. It was for a task that, let's be honest, most of us would probably see as a simple, messy, everyday chore. Right there, in that moment of ultimate crisis, everything became crystal clear for her. The things we so often complain about, the things we call inconveniences, were, to her, the most precious moments of all. And this really gets to the core of the problem. We are so often blinded by our daily emergencies that we completely lose sight of what's truly important. And this whole struggle is basically a battle between two forces in our lives. You see, pretty much every single thing we do is pulled in two different directions by two forces, the clock and the compass. And understanding the difference between them, well, it's everything. All right, so the clock, that's all the urgent stuff. It's your appointments, your deadlines, the phone that won't stop ringing. It's the part of your life that screams for your attention right now. And then you've got the compass. The compass represents what's truly important. It's your values, your relationships, your health, your biggest goals. It points you towards your true north, the person you actually want to be and the life you really want to live. And here's the trap that, let's be honest, most of us fall into. We live our lives ruled by the clock. We're just constantly reacting to urgent things, putting out one fire after another, running from crisis to crisis. We feel incredibly busy, sure, but are we actually moving in the right direction? Are we following our compass? To figure that out, we need a kind of map. Okay, let's get practical for a second. There's a really simple but powerful tool that Covey talks about to help us figure out exactly where our time is going. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix. It's super simple, just a grid with 4 boxes, right? On one side, you have how important something is. On the other side, how urgent it is. And literally every single thing you do, from answering an email to planning your future, fits into one of these 4 quadrants. Okay, first up, quadrant 1. This is the stuff that's both urgent and important. Think, the house is on fire, that huge project is due tomorrow. This is pure crisis mode. We all have to visit this quadrant sometimes, but if you live here, you are on a one-way trip to burnout. You're just reacting all day, never actually getting ahead. Okay, now for quadrant 2. And listen up, because this is the absolute game changer. These are the things that are super important, but not urgent. Things like planning for your future, really investing in your relationships, learning a new skill, exercising, taking care of your health. This is the quadrant of leadership. This is where the magic happens. It's where you proactively follow your compass and build the life you actually want.
Then we get to quadrant 3. Ah, the sneaky one. These tasks are urgent, but they're not important. At least, not to you. This is the constant flood of notifications, the meetings that definitely could have been an email, the interruptions that completely break your focus. It's called the quadrant of deception because you feel productive, right? You're busy, but you're not actually moving your own life forward. You're just living by someone else's clock.
And finally, we have quadrant 4. Neither urgent nor important. This is the stuff we do to escape. The trivial busy work, the endless scrolling on social media, binge-watching shows you don't even really like. This is the quadrant of waste. Look, a little bit of this for relaxing is fine, but if you live here, you're just stuck.
All right, so let's pause for a second, and I want you to be really honest with yourself here. Think back over the last week. Where did most of your hours and energy actually go? Were you fighting fires in quadrant 1? Building your future in quadrant 2? Reacting to everyone else in quadrant 3? Or just escaping in quadrant 4? Seriously, your answer to that question reveals pretty much everything.
And this is maybe the biggest takeaway of this whole idea. The goal isn't to get better and faster at putting out fires in quadrant 1. The real goal is to spend so much time proactively building and planning in quadrant 2 that you prevent the fires from ever starting in the first place. You see, when you invest your time in what's important, you're not just managing your life, you're designing it so that fewer crises can even happen. So, the next time you feel that frantic pull of urgency, that constant pressure from the clock, just pause and ask yourself a different question. Not, what's the most urgent thing I have to do, but what's the most important thing I can do? What's one thing I can do right now that will take me one step closer to my true north? Stop letting yourself be managed by the clock. It's time to start leading with your compass.